The purpose of this podcast is to educate and inform. It is no substitute for professional care by your doctor or your qualified healthcare professional. Never disregard or delay professional medical advice because of something you've heard on this podcast or in any linked material. Guests who speak on this podcast express their own opinions, experience, and conclusions. Dr. Shirley neither endorses nor opposes any particular opinion discussed on this podcast. The views expressed on this podcast have no relation to those of any academic, hospital, practice, institution, or other entity with which Dr. Shirley may be affiliated.
Welcome to Forever Fab, the podcast on fashion, the art of living, and all things beauty. This podcast is curated by Dr. Shirley Madhere, MD, as the definitive source of holistic wellness through beauty.
Hey everyone, it's Dr. Shirley. Welcome to 15 Minutes of Fab, a segment of the Forever Fab podcast where I review products, services, experiences, and frankly, whatever, in 15 minutes or less. If the full-length podcast is a couture dress, for example, then 15 Minutes of Fab is like a button-down French cuff white shirt paired with leather leggings. If you don't have time to tune into the full-length podcast, then check out 15 Minutes of Fab, just a small dose. Some have considered it truth and beauty or plastic surgery secrets or as a nerdy or academic take on wellness and beauty with a dash of fashion. Consider it what you may. My aim is to engage you as a credible and authoritative voice in most, if not all aspects of beauty and wellness with a dash of fashion. That includes products, wellness services, technologies, innovations, new scientific research, and plastic surgery. As the founder of Holistic Plastic Surgery, my approach to beauty is through a lens of wellness that's grounded in science, backed by medical study and research, strengthened by my clinical experience, and bolstered by my surgical training with the use of principles and techniques of plastic surgery. And then there's my love of fashion. Of course, I feel uniquely qualified to talk with you about beauty, wellness, aesthetics, and plastic surgery, as well as products and services within those spaces, not only because of my extensive, and may I add, expensive training and expansive background, but also because I'm one of you. Many of the human issues around aging and being a fierce fab person, as well as an agent for positive change, I live these too, and I try. You're not alone. So together we can help the world become a more beautiful, forever fab place. So if you'll have me and give me at least 15 minutes of your time, let's get at it. In this new year, I've decided that it will be one of expansion and discovery. So I'll explore all sorts of topics, near and possibly far-fetched, while still focusing on the topics that make the Forever Fab podcast, well, fabulous, namely fashion, the art of living well or wellness, and beauty. As part of my philosophy of holistic plastic surgery, which I created well over probably now 15 years ago, where I believe that beauty emanates from within, wellness plays an integral role in my practice. And this goes for many aspects of life that help you to live in grace and beauty, including nutrition, exercise, products, services, technologies, mind, body, spirit, and science. The topic of this 15 Minutes of Fab on the Forever Fab podcast is on healthy aging. And this podcast, this 15 Minutes of Fab, is dedicated to holistic health and wellness. Recently, I delivered a presentation on healthy aging, and although I won't be able to give you the entirety of the presentation, what I would like to do is just give you some of the salient highlights. And the presentation was about healthy aging and strategies for healthy aging and improving what's called your inside age. So the highlights begin as follows. Don't you love it when people ask how old you are? Sometimes I feel not so badly about it. Other times I feel great about it. And other times it's just like, it's really none of your business. So I'd like to discuss some of the signs and symptoms of advancing age. And then what I'd like to do is share with you how to improve your inside age or how you really feel inside. So what exactly is aging? Let's define it. Well, according to the NIH, or the National Institutes of Health, the NIH defines aging as, quote, the time-related deterioration of the physiological functions necessary for survival and protection. The NIH adds the phenotypic changes of senescence, and senescence means aging, the phenotypic changes of senescence, which affect all members of the species, humans we're talking about, are not to be confused with the diseases of senescence, such as cancer and heart disease, which affect individuals. Mark Twain said, quote, age is an issue of mind over matter. If you don't mind, it doesn't matter. But as I'm sure you all know, or most of you know, it does matter because the topic of aging is so relevant. Now, in general, there are two categories of factors that contribute to how well or how poorly we age. And I've discussed some of these on a previous podcast. And those two general categories of these factors are intrinsic or internal factors and extrinsic or external factors. And some of the intrinsic factors, which are the ones that you really cannot control, are chronological, genetics, heredity, and the inherent rate of degenerative changes of your cells, right? They're on their own program. The extrinsic factors or the external factors are the ones that you tend to have some exposure to or some control over exposure to. And they include sun exposure, repetitive facial expressions, lifestyle, such as exercise or lack thereof, smoking, excess alcohol, diet, and epigenetics. Now, what are epigenetics? It's the external factors of aging that are considered epigenetic. And Wikipedia describes epigenetics as, in biology, it's the study of heritable traits or a stable change of cell function that happen without changes to the DNA sequence. The Oxford English Dictionary online defines epigenetics as the study of changes in organisms caused by modification of gene expression rather than alteration of the genetic code itself. And Medline describes epigenetics as changes that are modifications to the DNA that regulate whether genes are turned on or off. Now, it all sounds like a lot, those definitions, but it's actually all really good news. In simpler terms, the extrinsic factors are generally the preventable environmental factors that if you continue to improve upon them consistently, they'll slow down the rate of aging and will manifest positively on so many aspects of your health and wellness. Also, ameliorating or improving these external factors may also potentially contribute to an overall increase in health and wellness and may lead to a reversal of cellular aging and may actually serve as a foundation for a path to longevity. Now, this part some of you will know. The signs and symptoms of aging. There are many. There are physical signs such as skin wrinkles or reduced size and strength of your muscles, reduction in your senses, a change in your body composition. Maybe there's more fat in places where you didn't have them 10 years ago. There are mental signs and symptoms such as memory loss, mood changes, difficulty concentrating, or behavioral changes such as irritability or anxiety, social withdrawal, and depression. There's more. There are also underlying conditions that may come to the foreground that perhaps weren't too much of an issue for you many years ago. There's a higher risk of injury, there's slow healing, there's decreased resiliency, there's prolonged recovery, there are hormonal changes, psychological changes to your mindset, your mood, and personality changes. Oh, and wait. I know there's a lot of talk and interest and investment, certainly in menopause these days. Well, thank goodness. It's about time that science and medicine, are finally beginning to put in the time, money, energy, and effort into understanding women's health and aging. But speaking of menopause, did you know that both genders have a similar senescence? Yes, both genders. So in women, we all know it's called menopause. In men, it's called andropause. And I just want to do sort of a side by side comparison for you. And you let me know if the changes are similar. So in menopause, it marks the end of the menstrual cycle. It's the end of women's reproductive years. It can begin in middle age. There's a lowering of hormones, but particularly estrogen. And the symptoms are variable and may include hot flashes, night sweats, mood swings, sleep disturbance, weight gain, changes in libido, and more. And typically, the treatment is hormonal replacement therapy and other treatment options. Now, in men, this period of time is called andropause, and some people consider that the male menopause. Despite women having the end of their reproductive cycles marked by menopause, in men, they continue sperm production. Andropause in men can begin in middle age. There's a lowering of hormones also, in particular men, it's testosterone. And similar to women, the symptoms are also variable and may include fatigue, reduced muscle mass, increased body fat, changes in body composition, low libido, mood swings, and erectile dysfunction. And for men, treatment options include hormonal replacement therapy, among others. So, healthy aging, what characterizes it? How are we going to not necessarily escape, but improve upon all these signs and symptoms that are occurring as we advance in our age? Well, the process of maintaining and improving physical, mental, and social well-being as one grows older is paramount. Also, healthy aging is characterized by not by avoiding all age-related changes, but rather about minimizing their impact on you and your health and wellness and mindset, and maximizing your potential. And healthy aging, also by promoting healthy aging, individuals can live longer, more fulfilling lives and have a higher quality of well-being. And that's what healthy aging and a beautiful life should be about. So in general, the factors that contribute to how well we age are many and include physical health, mental health, social health, regular physical activity, a healthy diet, adequate sleep, stress management, social engagement, and of course, your medical checkups and screenings. It's important that with each sort of new stage of your life, in addition to annually, but if you're the kind of person who's not going to see a doctor annually, I wouldn't necessarily advise that. And at some point, it's going to change, right? So, of course, keeping up with your medical checkups and screening so your physician can help you to just keep track of what's going on in your body and help you also to figure out what's going on with your body when it's not exactly optimized. So recently I attended a women's health conference and it was fantastic. Lots of information, lots of hope, lots of discussion, lots of interest in finally, trying to crack the multiple codes that are inherent in women's health and wellness. And one of the words that I heard repeatedly was the word holistic. Now, you all know for many years, I have touted the benefits of using holism, not only in plastic surgery, which is my primary field, but also in general in health, wellness, and by extension, beauty. So I was really happy to hear that this word was being used by so many physicians, scientists, researchers, pharmaceutical company representatives, as a few celebrities that were on the panels, and it made me feel proud. So I will continue to be a staunch supporter of the holistic approach to health, wellness, well-being, beauty, and plastic surgery. I didn't make it up decades ago. I didn't make up the term holistic plastic surgery because I thought it was, an opportunity for branding. No, I created it because I truly believe in the approach. It is deeply rooted in my culture and my DNA and in who I am. So I am so happy that many people are finally tuning into this different approach to health and wellness, at least. So what I appreciate about the holistic approach, at least from my perspective and how I practice, is that it considers the whole person. It includes epigenetics. It is comprehensive. It represents a better balance of multiple factors. And obviously, this approach is in and of itself holistic. It complements conventional medicine and it's not alternative, right? And the potential benefits are that using this approach can help prevent disease, manage chronic conditions, and improve overall quality of life. What's not beautiful about that? And to hone in more specifically on using the holistic approach in beauty and plastic surgery, my goodness, if you can improve upon your insides and your inside age, then I assure you that will manifest externally, whether you choose to engage in procedures or not. But certainly, if you do not, then that's fantastic. You can still be radiant. And then again, if you do participate in those procedures, the tweakments, some people call them, or just straight up surgery, your recovery will be significantly improved. There it is. So now this paradigm that I have been using for decades, for me, it was based on what has been called the dimensions of wellness. Now, I've discussed this in previous podcasts numerous times. And so the dimensions of wellness were originally developed as the 6 dimensions of wellness in 1976. Right? So they were discovered by Dr. Bill Hetler, who was the co-founder of the National Wellness Institutes. And his original ones were they were expanded to pretty much just be more relevant in modern times. So the original dimensions of wellness, the classic ones, are physical wellness, intellectual, emotional, social, spiritual, vocational or occupational, financial, and environmental. And those have been added to and a number of factors have been added, a number of dimensions have been added, and these include cultural wellness, digital wellness. And the digital wellness is very interesting because it's really the practice of considering how technology and your virtual presence affect your overall well-being. Digital wellness involves creating healthy habits and boundaries around technology use and being intentional and respectful in online interactions, right? So relevant. The other dimensions of wellness that have been added to the original classic model are mental wellness. We all know how critical that is now and has become. Creative wellness, which involves valuing and participating in a variety of arts and cultural experiences, and sexual wellness, which is the physical, emotional, and mental well-being around your sexuality, however you define that. Now, for me, the dimensions of wellness, all of them comprehensively represent the sum of all parts. And the sum is greater than its parts. So guess what? We are that sum. If one dimension is off balance, all others may be out of alignment, either acutely or over the long term, chronically. And this misalignment, regardless of where it originates, whether it's in, financial wellness or digital wellness or, mental wellness, no matter where the misalignment is, that misalignment may contribute to unwellness or the state of dis-ease and perhaps even to illness in the long term. Now, Sophia Loren said, quote, "There is a fountain of youth. It is your mind, your talents, your creativity, and the creativity you bring to your life and the lives of the people you love," end quote. Ms. Sophia Loren may have been referring to our inside age. How old do you feel? 30, 40, 60, 80? Now, this number may be different from the actual number of your age or your chronological age. What inside age is not your chronological age or how long you've existed, in life. And how long you've existed in life is called your lifespan. Inside age is also not your biological age. Your biological age is how old your cells are. It's the speed at which the body is, losing optimal functions. It measures your body's efficiency, and your biological age is actually related to health span. Inside age is also referred to as your subjective age. So it is the age that reflects how you see yourself in relation to your health, mobility, and cognitive abilities. Now, it's interesting that there were a number of studies that showed that most older people believe that their age is 20 plus years younger than their actual biological age. So inside age, also known as subjective age, is about perception. It's highly variable. It's associated with better health outcomes and lower mortality and a greater sense of resilience. It's also associated with a higher well-being. And there was a study that correlates, with health inside age with brain aging and the important marker of late life neurocognitive health. So it is true. That study showed that, quote, the subjective experience of aging is closely related to the process of brain aging and underscores the neurobiological mechanisms of subjective age as an important marker of late life neurocognitive health. So, according to these researchers, your inside age or subjective age actually helps to determine your cognitive health. I think that's pretty significant. So we talked about health span, which basically is defined as, by the Oxford Dictionary, the part of a person's life during which they are generally in good health. It's a qualitative figure. But lifespan, according to the Oxford Dictionary, is the length of time for which a person or animal lives. That's more of a quantitative experience. Well, what influences lifespan? So many things. I would put forth that these factors would also affect your health span and maybe even your longevity. So a list of influences that affect lifespan are access to healthcare, access to nutritional foods and clean water, availability of sanitation services, biological family history, climate, and any impacts of climate change, whether you believe them in it or not. Environmental regulations to limit how pollution affects you, inherited or genetic factors, medical history also influences lifespan, the presence of public safety services such as firefighting and law enforcement agencies, those certainly affect lifespan, and war or armed conflicts affect lifespan. Longevity means long life. It's living a longer, healthier life. But these days, I would argue that longevity involves three concepts: extending an individual's lifespan, so how long you live, extending the health of an individual, so health span, and controlling and reversing the hallmarks of aging. So this is what a lot of people are aiming for, are shooting for. It's the fountain of youth. It's the subject of numerous scientific papers, non-scientific research. I'm sure dozens, if not hundreds of thousands of TikTok videos, experimentation, and of course, commercial interest. So the new paradigm of modern healthy aging, just like the dimensions of wellness, right? The modern times require a newer paradigm. So the new paradigm of healthy aging involves a multidimensional approach, and this multidimensional approach improves upon inside age or subjective age, lifespan, health span, and longevity. It is a multifactorial, multidisciplinary approach. Now, I want to be able to go back to mental wellness for a minute. There is an area of the mental wellness dimension that continues to require research. Brain cells also age. and science hasn't quite completely figured out how to prevent neurocognitive decline. Now, this is of particular interest to me because I do have neurocognitive decline and or dementia on both sides of my family. So it is something that is hugely relevant, important, concerning, and very much on my radar. There was an article recently, and references for these articles can be found on foreverfabpodcast.com if you'd like to read them for yourself. But the article summarized some of the data presented at a recent health summit. And the findings actually may allow us to actively participate in ensuring healthy aging of the brain by focusing and incorporating a few changes into our lives. So many times we hear, or perhaps in general, we understand that there isn't much that can be done to prevent Alzheimer's, dementia, neurocognitive decline. But what's exciting about this paper, which actually focused on the gut microbiome, is that if we could focus on some of these factors, we may actually stand a chance at improving upon, or at least delaying, the rate at which our brain cells age. And those factors to focus on are the gut-brain axis, the microbiome, using a gut-focused approach through diet and nutrition, incorporating probiotics and prebiotics. Now, I think that's incredible. And if the research and the studies and the data pan out, then wow, neurocognitive decline could be one of those things that become an extrinsic factor, meaning that we may actually be able to do something about it. And I think I'm hopeful for that. So the goals of healthy aging, they may change or be different for everyone, but in general, the goals of healthy aging would be to maintain holistic wellness, to improve overall well-being, to optimize the dimensions of wellness, all of them, to invest in disease prevention, to prioritize enjoyment, to adopt a sense of purpose, and to aim for longevity. Okay, great, cool. Well, where do you start? I would argue that the time to start is now, however you can. There is no better time than now. I believe that everything happens in divine precision. So start now, today, wherever you are. And starting at a baseline, it involves your mindset, your intention, making a decision to start or to improve your life, to make smart goals, habit, and PTC, or to plan, track, and celebrate or reward your achievements. And just as a review, what are the SMART goals? Your SMART goals regarding healthy aging must be specific. They have to be clearly defined. They have to be measurable, right? They have to be quantifiable so that you can track your progress. They have to be achievable. Are you going to be able to climb Mount Kilimanjaro if you can't go, climb 10 steps without being winded? They have to be relevant. You have to ensure your goals align with your values and your objectives. And they have to be time bound, right? Assign deadlines to your goals so you can create a sense of urgency and accountability. The tools you're going to need for healthy aging are a holistic approach, being aware of the dimensions of wellness, understanding your epigenetics, and frankly, a need and a desire to improve. Keeping in mind the dimensions of wellness, choose one. Let's say, for example, you want to improve your mental wellness. That means you want, to achieve some mental and cognitive well-being and how you think, process information, and make decisions. Well, okay, great. Well, what are the actions that you can take to help put you on the path to achieving this mental wellness? Some of the actions involve developing a positive outlook, maintaining curiosity and seeking answers, engaging in intellectual pursuits, heightening your problem-solving skills, and challenging yourself with critical thinking. You can go through each one of the dimensions of wellness, whether emotional, psychological, financial, and you can just determine what actionable steps you want to take to be able to achieve those goals. There's so many things to work on. What's more effective? What affects how we age the most? Is it nature or is it nurture? Frankly, in terms of choosing from the multiple dimensions of wellness, choose what's most important to you. And in terms of trying to figure out if it's nature or nurture and what will determine your success rate, well, a recent scientific paper by several authors concluded that, quote, both environmental exposures and genetics are known to play important roles in shaping human aging, end quote. So it stands to reason that, one, your genetics may not predominantly dictate how you age, and that number two, making healthy changes to your life will have a beneficial impact on your healthy aging journey. So, as you learned, healthy aging is a combination of nature and nurture, biology and lifestyle. So, ask yourself, how old are you chronologically? How old do you feel subjectively? Can you identify one area of your life or lifestyle that may benefit from a reset? And what one healthy aging strategy may you incorporate today to improve your well-being? If nothing else, then perhaps remember just 5 things. And this is the forever Fab 5. Let's review. These are the 5 rules of holistic wellness and beauty that, by extension, are also the foundations of pillars of living a beautiful life and establishing a firm basis for healthy aging. So it's not, these Fab 5 are not just to help you look better every day and feel better every day. They can actually serve as pillars for your healthy aging journey. In review, the Fab 5 are, number 1, good nutrition. That's the first rule of beauty. And wellness. Number 2, adequate daily hydration. Number 3, consistent restful sleep. Number 4, frequent and effective stress management. And number 5, mind, brain, and soul nourishment and protection with social support, purpose-driven living, and daily learning. This concludes this episode of 15 Minutes of Fab on the Forever Fab podcast. Thank you for listening, and until next time, stay beautiful and forever fabulous inside and out. Thank you for listening to this week's Forever Fab podcast episode of 15 Minutes of Fab. Until next time, live well, prosper, and stay beautiful inside and out, and stay forever fab. If you like this episode of 15 Minutes of Fab on the Forever Fab podcast, please share it and subscribe to the feed. Did you learn anything new? Review this episode by writing just one word to describe the value you got from listening today, and give this episode a 5-star rating. In case you missed it, listen to this episode, past episodes, or check out who's coming up next on foreverfabpodcast.com. If you enjoy listening to the Forever Fab podcast, get more audio and more visuals with a membership through Patreon. Choose the gold, platinum, or diamond tier for premium added content, special co-hosts, lifestyle videos, branded merchandise, and more by visiting patreon.com/foreverfab. And if you are a founder of or represent a beauty or wellness brand, and you want to be featured on an episode of Forever Fab podcast segment of 15 Minutes of Fab, send me some stuff. Visit foreverfabpodcast.com and fill out the contact form. For general holistic beauty tips or to set up an appointment with me to discuss your personalized options for leveling up your beauty, go to elementsandgraces.com and sign up for my newsletter. And for an online e-consultation on time, anytime, and on your time, visit clicklift.com for your wellness, plastic surgery, and beauty questions on the go. And it's time for the elevated house call, wouldn't you say? Jet Set Beauty RX offers beauty on-call services near your home or other domicile, delivering beauty in the privacy of a medically equipped, state-of-the-art mobile aesthetics unit. Reserve at jetsetbeautyrx.com. That's all for now. Thank you for sharing the love. Goodbye, gorgeous.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Forever Fab, the podcast on fashion, the art of living, and all things beauty, curated by Dr. Shirley Madhere, MD. Live beautifully and help make the world a more beautiful place.